now on the CTV News at 5.
Days this year was outstanding.
Whoop Up Day sets a new modern-day attendance record. Plus, the latest update on southern Alberta reservoirs. And
the more traumatic experiences people have in childhood, by far the greater the risk of addiction.
A world-renowned addictions expert on why so many people are turning to illicit drugs.
Telling your stories. CTV News Lethbridge with Jackie Scantlebury.
Hello, and thank you for being here. This year's Whoop Up Days is being called a huge success with a new modern-day paid attendance record set. Nearly 55,000 people made their way through the gates to the city's largest festival, and this year's Pro Rodeo saw a nearly 50% increase from last year's record. Carson Marsouk reports.
More than 54,000 people came out to this year's Whoop Up Days, a new modern-day paid attendance record.
Days this year was outstanding. The numbers that we've seen come in are through the roof. Seeing the increases in guests that we've had on both the Whoop Up Days and the Lethbridge District Pro Rodeo side is staggering.
This year saw a 36% increase over last year's previous record of 40,000. More than 9,000 people took in the Lethbridge and District Pro Rodeo over the course of 3 days, a 47% increase from 2024.
It's become one of those events that people are talking about in the community, and they want to be a part of, and they want to be there, and they feel like they're missing out if they're not there. So we saw that big growth last year, and then this year just went exponentially even higher.
He says headliner performances by Trooper and Chad Brownlee also contributed to the increase in fairgoers. Last year's event brought in roughly $260,000 to the Lethbridge and District exhibition, with this year's expenses still being calculated.
You saw the increase in attendance, and we're expecting a rise in revenue in general around the 33% mark, which will help us and help the community overall.
Kim Gallucci says 2 straight years of record-breaking attendance shows that they're on the right track.
Really gives us the confidence to expand and develop even more product within Whoop Up Days and the days that we have.
Although this year's new Whoop Up wrap-up on Sunday brought in a little over 1,000 people, lower than anticipated.
It goes back to that taking risks and pushing forward and trying new things, and we're happy to do that, and we want to try doing that.
The LDE will now meet to evaluate this year's festival, with planning already underway for next year's event.
If we put on a really good product, then we know that the people will follow, and so we'll take this as a good sign that we're doing things right lately, but we want to keep pushing forward and make it bigger and better next year.
Carson Marsouk, CTV News, Lethbridge.
Whoop Up Days 2026 will take place from August the 18th to the 22nd. To an update now from Brooks RCMP about their investigation into an unusual fatal hit and run. Monday morning, Mounties were checking out an abandoned vehicle on the Trans-Canada Highway about 20 kilometers east of Brooks. Now the vehicle was damaged, the doors were open. Officers found the victim, a 30-year-old man nearby. Investigators believe the man struck an animal and got out of his vehicle, and then he himself was struck by a passing vehicle. The driver did not stop. Police now say they believe the suspect vehicle is a 2015 to 2016 Volkswagen Jetta. The color is unknown, but it will have driver's side damage. If you have any information that may help, you're urged to contact Brooks RCMP or Crime Stoppers. Redcliffe RCMP are investigating an assault with a weapon at a Redcliffe bar, and the person police are looking for is a woman. This is what she looks like. The altercation happened in the early morning hours of August 17th outside Who's on 3rd. It's alleged the suspect hit someone in the head with a bottle. Police are looking for a woman of Spanish or Mexican descent with long black hair. She's between 5'5" and 5'7". Anyone with information is asked to contact police or again Crime Stoppers. Lethbridge police are asking for the public's help identifying a man after he allegedly stole $14,000 worth of products from Home Depot. Police say sometime overnight between August 3rd and 4th, the gate was cut to a storage yard at Home Depot along Mayor McGrath Drive South. A large quantity of items, including leaf blowers and pressure washers, were stolen. An unknown man was recorded on video surveillance. Investigators are asking anyone who recognizes him to come forward and call police. City police are trying to also identify this woman in connection with a theft. Investigation at London Drugs. Officers say the unknown female walked into London Drugs around 4:30 on August 21st, grabbed 2 fragrance sets with a combined value of $350, removed the anti-theft devices attached to the items and left the store without paying. Anyone who recognizes her is asked to contact Lethbridge Police or Crime Stoppers. Kimberley RCMP are trying to track down a man believed to be in that area. 36-year-old Andrew Brulette is wanted on an outstanding warrant for theft under $5,000. He is 160 centimeters taller, about 5'2". He has brown hair, eyes, and a beard. If you have any information on his whereabouts, you're asked to contact Kimberley RCMP or Crime Stoppers. Danielle Savoni is here, and Danielle, is starting to feel like Groundhog Day, another day of hot weather on the way.
Yes, and you know, the heat warnings have been extended as well, so they're starting to plummet down to the south here. It's just as hot in the far south. I'll show you temperatures in just a second, but the overnight lows are a little more reasonable, and the criteria for Lethbridge over to Medicine Hat and south, it needs to be a couple degrees hotter than the other areas in Alberta to spark the heat warning. Basically, all areas hot. Check this out, 31 in Lethbridge right now, 32 in Medicine Hat and Brooks, 29 in Calgary and Pincher Creek. All right, when we look at the radar, the clouds, they're starting to increase in Lethbridge, for example, and that's all because of this stateside system, and that's going to impact our weather in the coming days. So we'll talk more about that coming up, Jackie.
All right, thanks, Danielle. Well, the recent hot weather, reduced rainfall has led to the city of Cranbrook implementing stage 2 water restrictions. Starting today, even-numbered houses will be allowed to water on Monday or Thursday. Odd-numbered addresses can water Tuesday or Friday from either 5 a.m. to 10 a.m. or 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. Residents will still be allowed to water their gardens, trees, and shrubs by hand, along with washing personal vehicles and filling residential fountains and pools. The city says washing of outdoor surfaces like sidewalks, driveways, and windows, those will not be allowed. The Phillips Reservoir has dropped 4 inches and currently sits at about 35 inches below full. Now, meantime, water levels in southern Alberta's reservoirs, those are continuing to hold steady as we head into September. The Oldman Reservoir has a current storage of 67%. The St. Mary Reservoir is at its normal level of 70% for this time of year. The city of Lethbridge is describing this summer as an interesting one. Heading into the summer, the city says things look somewhat grim water-wise, but heavy rain throughout June and July brought levels back to normal. The province downgraded drought conditions from stage 3 to stage 1 this year, compared to stage 4 last summer.
Speaking with Alberta Environment and Protected Areas, they're actually projecting for fall, by mid-October, the reservoir to be between 54 and 60% full. While this is still just below normal, it's substantially better than we were looking at or anticipating earlier in the season. So that's a win for us.
Now, the city says if the Rocky Mountains receive a normal snowpack this winter, conditions next spring and summer will look much better. But they say it all depends on how much snow actually falls. The Premier is getting an earful as the Alberta Next panel tours the province. Last night, Danielle Smith and the panel members met an audience in Fort McMurray. They're traveling across Alberta, talking about a series of proposals meant to address separatist sentiment. Last night, many comments focused on the UCP proposal to leave the Canada Pension Plan.
Poll after poll has shown that the vast majority of Albertans support the Canadian Pension Plan and want to stay in the plan. Why does your government continue to go against the clear wishes of Albertans and pursue a pension plan that we don't want?
The more I read and the more I dig into the truth of the Canada Pension Plan, I would just encourage everybody to do that. It's pathetic and it's gross mismanagement.
Tonight, the panel is in Lloydminster. Next month, it visits Medicine Hat, Lethbridge, Airdrie, and Grand Prairie before wrapping up September 29th in Calgary. A new survey shows the majority of Canadians who own a home in the U.S. are looking to sell. The report from Royal LePage shows 54% of Canadians who own American property are planning on selling in the next year. Of those, 62% say it is due to political reasons. 33% say it's for financial or personal reasons. It's estimated about 750,000 Canadians own property in the United States.
Americans themselves are lovely people and a lot like Canadians, and in the communities these people live, there isn't the issue. It's the broader issues with the U.S. federal government, the militarization of their cities.
Of the Canadians who have sold U.S. property or intend to sell, the survey found about a third of them plan to reinvest that capital into Canada. Royal LePage says that could mean more buyers for cabins and other recreational properties here. And new figures show U.S. border guards have been ramping up searches of electronic devices. U.S. Customs and Border Protection data reveal almost 15,000 devices were searched between April and July. That is the highest number since 2018. About 78% of travelers checked were not American. The searches typically involve an agent looking through the device's contents. Advanced searches can be conducted if there is a national security concern or suspicion someone broke the law. Alberta is moving ahead with changes to its electricity market as new sources come online and demand is expected to soar. The Alberta Electronic System Operator says its restructured energy market will make the provincial grid more reliable and more affordable. The plan will also seek to attract more private projects to Alberta's grid. Among the major changes is the introduction of locational marginal pricing. Now that will see electricity costs vary by location based on grid demand. There will also be more incentives for generators to ramp up supply when demand is high. The new market design will be implemented in mid-2027. All right, when we come back, Danielle has the 5-day forecast on the way. Plus, we hear from one of the world's leading experts on addiction, why people turn to illicit drugs.
All right, Skywatch weather camera facing south. Okay, so the clouds are starting to creep on in and fill up that blue sky. Now, we are still looking at bright, hot weather coming up, but we're going to take a bit of a dip. It's still going to be hot in the coming days, but more reasonable heat is what you can expect for the next couple of days because of a stateside system. That's what's pushing in the clouds, and it will change the weather pattern a little bit for the next 2 days. 29 degrees, the high so far in Calgary, 32 in Edmonton, 30 in Regina, 31 in Saskatoon. So a lot of heat again today in Alberta and Saskatchewan, but less heat in the rest of the country. Okay, when we focus on the far south, 32 in Lethbridge at the moment, 33 in Medicine Hat, 32 in Brooks. As you move up, it somewhat gets cooler in some communities. So while we don't have the heat warnings in place for the far south, it's because there's a couple degrees that the warning needs a couple degrees warmer. So the warning criteria is different for the far south. We talked about this a couple times. So although the warnings are in Vulcan, Champion, Lowman, Brooks, for example, and they're not in the far south, it's still just as hot, if not hotter, during the day in the far south. Many communities, though, the overnight lows are a little bit cooler, so at least there's a little bit of relief in those overnight hours, which is why that heat warning isn't issued. Okay, the heat's going to change, though, a little bit anyway. All right, look at what's developing off just outside of Banff and creeping up into the Cremona area, for example. This will be a central Alberta type thing. This is the system, though, that's starting to push the clouds in already. We're going to see a lot of cloud cover over the next couple of days, and south of Lethbridge, south of Medicine Hat, even some showers possible. So let me play this through. Tomorrow, mainly just the cloud cover pushing in. By the time we get into Friday, though, that's when we have the chance of showers. Small chance of it reaching all the way to Lethbridge and Medicine Hat. It should remain further south of there, as you can see by the map here. And then Friday, it's late Friday, it starts to clear out. So yeah, the next couple days cloudy, maybe a little breezy as well. And then that late day instability is possible late on Friday too. Okay, East Kootenay area for the next 24 hours. 15 tonight, clouds increasing. Mainly cloudy for tomorrow. Small chance of an isolated shower in the East Kootenay area tomorrow. 29 degrees for a high. Crozes Pass at 9 tonight, so that's a good break from the heat for sure. Gusts around 50 kilometers per hour for the evening. That will quiet down tonight. Tomorrow, mainly cloudy and a high of 24. Medicine Hat 16 tonight. Tomorrow, a high of 30, so it's a hot one. The clouds will increase throughout the day. Same idea for Lethbridge. The clouds will increase, but here's a bit of a more reasonable temperature outlook. 27 for Thursday, 26 for Friday, 27 for Saturday. We will be back into the 30s by Sunday.
The debate how to combat the toxic drug crisis has not let up, with many options on the table. Now, a question that's not often considered is why people turn to illicit drugs in the first place. CTV's Penny Daflo speaks with world-renowned addictions expert Canadian Dr. Gabor Mate about deaths of despair.
Childhood is a golden time for many of us, but for some it can lay the groundwork for a difficult life in their brains.
The more stress, trauma, instability there's in the environment, the less these circuits develop properly. The more traumatic experiences people have in childhood, by far the greater the risk of addiction.
Best-selling author Dr. Gabor Mate continues to transfix millions of viewers.
The real question in addiction is not why the addiction, but why the pain.
Across various mediums,
the #1 health podcast in the world.
With his profound insights.
Trauma is a wound. It's a psychic wound that leaves a scar, it leaves an imprint.
After practicing family medicine in Vancouver, going on to provide addiction treatment in the downtown east side while working at St. Paul's Hospital. CTV News reached the world-renowned expert on the Gulf Islands.
Both the science and the empathy is missing from the public discourse.
There's been no shortage of rallies and backlash against BC policies like safer supply and supervised consumption sites.
This is about the street disorder and the disorder that surrounds the overdose prevention site.
We should be helping them get off the drugs and not just having a location for them to use the drug.
The most prevalent myth around addiction is that people are choosing to behave the way they are.
He points to multiple studies and research finding poverty and lack of emotional care can impact children and our society.
The more inequality there is in a country, the more addiction there is, the more illness there is, and the more hostility there is.
Mate wants to see education for doctors, police, teachers, and the public about risk factors and how harm reduction measures aren't a solution, but a way to reduce the spread of disease and preventable deaths and connect with those who are suffering.
People are desperate to soothe their pain, so desperate that they even take the risk of taking lethal medications. But what is that if not despair?
When viewed through Mate's compassionate lens, British Columbia records on average 5 deaths of despair every day. Penny Daflos, CTV News, Vancouver.
Still ahead on the CTV News at 5. The Hurricanes training camp hits the ice tomorrow. We have got those details on the other side of this break. A Lethbridge couple is bringing home the hardware from the 2025 Canadian Senior Pickleball Championships. Gerald and Angie Dower won gold in the mixed doubles division at the championships in Winnipeg earlier this week. And along with their gold, they each medaled in 3 other events to bring home 4 combined medals. The championships ran from August 18th to the 24th. And while pickleball has become a very well-known sport in many communities, another racket game is growing in popularity. Paddle is being played across the country in part thanks to support from a former Ottawa Senators player. CTV's Kimberly Johnson has those details.
A ball flies through the air and a small racket knocks it back across the court. This is paddle, one of Ottawa's fastest growing sports.
Really exhilarating.
Described as part tennis, part squash, this is Socorro Mighty Johnson's first time on the court.
It's like quick thinking in terms of like, oh, do I have to run forward? Do I have to move backwards? Do I have to turn around and get the ball from behind me? So just all these little moments. It's fast paced, but in like a really fun way.
Popular around the world, especially in places like Spain and Argentina, Ottawa now has its very first indoor facility. It's called Paddle and Friends, and one of the owners is a familiar face.
So I just says there's so many decisions to be made, and you're always challenged, and that's just so stimulating.
Daniel Alfredson fell in love with the sport back in Sweden, and opening a year-round facility in Ottawa became a passion project.
So seeing my wife, my kids, how much they like it. Anybody can play this, male, female, kids, older people. And it's a very social sport as well.
Paddle follows the same scoring as tennis, but with a unique racket. And the facility's director explains you can use the walls.
You can actually hit the ball off the glass and goes to the other side and the point's still on.
So any advice?
Look at the ball. Look at the ball is probably the biggest thing in the beginning.
With that, I had to try it out for myself, taking a few lessons. I started to pick it up. The facility has 3 indoor courts for playing in tournaments. The owner says this is a 5-year dream in the making to bring something new to Ottawa.
And we wanted to do this a club where you don't need a membership. It has to be open for everyone, all levels of play, and just be very open, very welcoming.
The sports momentum building in the capital.
Nothing. I knew nothing about this sport, and maybe an hour and a half later, I'm already getting the hang of it.
Kimberly Johnson, CTV News.
It's a sign that a new hockey season is nearly here, as the Lethbridge Hurricanes have announced their training camp roster ahead of tomorrow's camp. The roster includes a total of 84 players. That's 50 forwards, 28 defensemen, and 6 goaltenders. The Canes will carry 51 players during their rookie camp tomorrow, along with 33 players for their main camp. The rookie camp runs tomorrow and Friday. Main camp is set for Saturday and Sunday. Now, entrance to the entirety of the training camp is free. Fans, though, are encouraged to bring a non-perishable food item in support of the food banks. The Canes preseason, that gets underway next Tuesday. Still ahead on the CTV News at 5, a BC family was having a get-together when they were visited by a family of orcas. A rare catch-up was interrupted by a sighting that was even more rare. While a group of friends and family gathered for a yearly reunion, they were joined by a family of orcas. And of course, it was all caught on camera. Here's CTV's Sinjin Alexander.
Well in the distance at first, off the west coast of Gambier Island, something about a small flotilla of humans caught the attention of this inquisitive group.
They're coming right for you guys. Like, they are there. Yeah. And they are there. Oh my gosh!
As the pod made its way closer and closer, this group of friends and family enjoying a yearly reunion decided they'd better get closer and closer.
We were all in the water, so we're getting out of the water.
Joshua Lepine, like so many others, pulled out his phone, and what he captured was remarkable.
What? He's saying hi. Look at that.
As soon as they got really close, one of the lead whales started to flap its side fin as it went right by us. I don't know why. I'm actually curious as to why.
There are many theories why whales slap their flippers. It can be communicating, hunting, scaring prey, or playing. Remember, the orcas approached the humans. And did you notice there are some youngsters too?
Especially the baby one was really kind of hopping around, and it was almost like it was riding the back of a larger one.
Now they're just showing off.
This chance encounter or visit lasted about 10 minutes, a breathtaking show, even for those who have seen their fair share of wildlife.
You're seeing humpback whales, you're seeing orca whales, you're seeing sea life come back that you've never seen before, especially in the last, I'd say, 6-7 years. I've spent a lot of time in these waters and I've seen orcas before, but I've never seen behavior like that.
Sinjin Alexander, CTV News, Horseshoe Bay.
Thank you for sharing this time with us. Now here's the early edition of the CTV National News.